What happens when the very people you sacrificed everything for decide you don't belong at their table anymore? When your mother's words cut deeper than any knife, and your brother's laughter echoes through a crowded restaurant like a death knell? This Christmas, I discovered that being family's personal ATM came with an expiration date. They thought cutting me off would leave me broken, begging for scraps of their affection. They never imagined I'd been keeping receipts all along. By the time the snow melted, they'd learned that when you treat family like a bank, don't be surprised when the account gets closed. My name is Samantha Blake, and I'm about to tell you how I burned my family's world to the ground with a smile on my face. The Ristorante Azzurro sat like a jewel in downtown Chicago's theater district, its warm amber lighting spilling onto the frost-kissed sidewalk. 7:30 p.m. on December 23rd, and I was already regretting coming. My mother, Evelyn Blake, had chosen this place, of course she had. Everything about it screamed her particular brand of calculated elegance: the imported marble floors, the hand-blown Murano glass chandeliers, the waiters who spoke in hushed reverence as if serving communion rather than ossobuco. I smoothed my black cocktail dress, a simple DVF wrap I'd bought on sale, and watched my breath crystallize in the December air. Through the window, I could already see them mother holding court at the corner table, her platinum bob catching the light like a helmet of ice. Grant, my older brother, lounging in his chair with that particular brand of entitled sprawl that only trust fund babies who'd never actually seen the trust fund could master, and Aunt Patricia, mother's sister, her lips already pursed in that perpetual expression of finding everything slightly beneath her standards. The maitre d' recognized me not with warmth, but with the clinical efficiency reserved for the least important member of an important party. "Miss Blake, your family is waiting." The walk to the table felt like a march to the gallows. Other diners glanced up from their conversations, their eyes sliding over me without interest before returning to their champagne and caviar. I was invisible here, just another well-dressed woman in a city full of them. 20 minutes late, Mother announced before I'd even pulled out my chair. She didn't look at me, just continued cutting her veal with surgical precision. "Though I suppose we should be grateful you showed up at all. Traffic was— excuses are so tiresome. Samantha," Patricia's voice dripped with fake sympathy, "especially from someone who lives barely an hour away. Milwaukee to Chicago in holiday traffic was 90 minutes on a good day, but I'd learned long ago that facts were irrelevant at this table." I sat down, the leather chair cold even through my dress. Grant looked up from his phone long enough to scan my outfit. His lips curled. "Interesting choice," he said, in that tone that made interesting sound like pathetic. "Didn't realize Nordstrom Rack was doing formal wear now?" "It's Diane von Furstenberg," I said quietly. "From this season?" Patricia asked, knowing damn well it wasn't. The waiter appeared a salvation in a pressed white shirt. I ordered the cheapest entree on the menu, a habit born from years of inevitably paying the entire check despite Mother's promises to get it next time. "Still ordering the peasant food," Mother observed, finally gracing me with eye contact. Her gaze was arctic. "Though I suppose that's fitting. Considering what?" The words escaped before I could stop them. Mother set down her fork with deliberate slowness. The table fell silent. Even the ambient restaurant noise seemed to fade. "Considering your position in this family." She dabbed her lips with her napkin. "Really, Samantha, at your age, still single, still renting that sad little apartment, still doing— what is it you do again?" "I'm a senior forensic financial advisor at Greystone Capital. You know this." "Oh yes, the job where you dig through other people's money?" Grant smirked. "How appropriate, considering you never seem to have any of your own." Patricia laughed a bright, tinkling sound that made my teeth ache. "Remember when she was 22 and thought she'd be running her own firm by 30? Dreams are free," Mother said, returning to her veal. "Reality, unfortunately, is not. You should be grateful we even keep you around. Sam." The words hung in the air like icicles. Grant's chuckle rumbled low in his throat. Patricia hid her smile behind her wine glass. And Mother just kept eating, as if she hadn't just driven a stake through whatever was left of my heart. I sat there, my hands folded in my lap, feeling something inside me crystallize and shatter simultaneously. The hurt was there. Yes, a familiar ache I'd carried for so long it had become part of my anatomy, but underneath it, something else stirred, something cold and sharp and patient. "You're right," I said softly. They all looked up, surprised. I never agreed with them. I should be grateful. Mother's eyes narrowed slightly, sensing something off in my tone. But Grant was already laughing. Patricia already moving on to complain about the wine selection. They didn't notice how my fingers had stopped trembling. They didn't see the way I cataloged every sneer, every dismissive gesture, every cruel word. They didn't realize they'd just freed me. The waiter cleared our plates, and as always, the check arrived at my side of the table. Mother didn't even pretend to reach for her purse anymore. As I pulled out my credit card, the one already maxed from last month's family emergency, my mind drifted back 12 years, to when this whole sick dance began. I was 22, fresh out of Northwestern with my finance degree, my first real job at a boutique consulting firm. I thought I was sophisticated, grown up, ready to be the daughter my mother could finally be proud of. God, I was naive. It started small. "Sam, darling, could you grab lunch? I forgot my wallet." Then, "Book the flights to Aspen on your card. I'll transfer the money tomorrow." Tomorrow never came. There was always an excuse. The bank was slow. The transfer was pending. She'd forgotten her login. After 6 months, I was carrying $3,000 of their expenses on my cards. Grant perfected the art of financial manipulation by 28. "Hey, sis, I'm in a bind. Client dinner tonight, company card got declined, some glitch. Can I use yours? I'll expense it Monday and pay you back." So Monday would come, but the expense report wouldn't. When I'd ask, he'd get defensive. "Jesus. Sam, it's not like you're hurting for money. Stop being such a tight ass." But I was hurting. Every month, I'd watch my carefully planned budget implode. Savings for a house gone, used to cover Mother's spa retreat. Emergency fund drained when Grant needed to impress some girl with courtside Bulls tickets. Retirement contributions reduced to minimums so I could pay Patricia's hotel bill for her essential shopping weekend in New York. The family lake house became my biggest financial trap. Back in 2010, when the recession hit, Mother came to me in tears, actual tears. The only time I'd ever seen her cry. The house was in foreclosure. 3 generations of memories, she said. Our family legacy. She just needed someone with good credit to help refinance. "It'll still be the family house," she promised, gripping my hands. "The paperwork is just a formality." I signed. Of course I signed. The mortgage came to $2,800 a month, plus property taxes, plus maintenance, plus the utility bills that somehow never got switched out of my name. $5,000 a month, minimum, for a house I visited maybe twice a year and only when summoned. Meanwhile, Grant treated it like his personal party venue. Every 4th of July, Labor Day, Memorial Day, he'd roll up with 20 friends, drain the liquor cabinet, trash the place, and leave. When I complained about a broken window, he laughed. "It's the family house. Sam, family fixes family problems." Patricia was worse in her own way. She'd book the house for her book club, her wine tasting groups, her meditation retreats, treating it like a free Airbnb. She'd even given keys to her friends. I once arrived to find strangers in the master bedroom. Patricia said it would be fine, they explained. When I confronted her, she acted wounded. I thought family meant sharing. Samantha. How selfish of you. At Greystone Capital, I spent my days unraveling financial fraud for high-net-worth clients. I could spot embezzlement from a mile away, track hidden assets through shell companies, identify the exact moment someone started skimming. My boss called me surgical in my precision. Clients paid hundreds of thousands for my expertise. Yet, somehow, I couldn't see what was happening in my own life. Or maybe I could see it but couldn't admit it. Every manipulation, every guilt trip, every broken promise, I cataloged them all in some mental ledger, like a forensic accountant documenting my own exploitation. The truth was simple and pathetic. I kept paying because I thought eventually, somehow, it would be enough. That one day, Mother would look at me with something other than disappointment, that Grant would defend me instead of mock me, that Patricia would include me instead of tolerate me. Last year, I calculated it all. 12 years of "I'll pay you backs" and "just this onces." Between the credit cards, the house, the loans, the covered dinners, the family vacations I paid for but was barely included in $387,000. $387,000 trying to buy something that was never for sale, their love. The waiter returned with my card. Declined. Of course. I pulled out another one, the emergency card I'd hidden from myself, swearing I'd only use it for actual emergencies. Mother watched me fumble with my wallet, her expression unreadable. "Problems?" she asked, her tone suggesting she hoped the answer was yes. "Just chip malfunction," I lied, handing over the backup card. As the receipt printed, Grant stretched luxuriously. "By the way, Sam, I'm bringing some clients to the lake house next weekend. Make sure the bar's stocked and the hot tub's working." I nodded, muscle memory taking over. But inside, that cold, sharp thing that had awakened during the appetizers grew stronger. Every demand, every assumption, every casual cruelty, they were adding up in a different kind of ledger now. They had no idea they were overdrawn. The lake house sat on 40 acres of pristine Michigan shoreline, a sprawling craftsman-style lodge built in 1928 by my great-grandfather, cedar shingles weathered to silver, stone chimneys that reached toward old-growth pines, a wraparound porch with hand-carved railings. It was the kind of place that appeared in architectural magazines, the kind of generational wealth that families killed each other over. And it was all mine. Every beam, every stone, every blade of grass. Not that anyone in my family knew that. After dessert, a $40 tiramisu I'd barely touched, Mother launched into her favorite topic, the lake house renovations. "The kitchen needs updating. Those 1980s cabinets are an embarrassment. I'm thinking Italian marble, maybe Calicut gold." "That'll run at least $80,000, Grant said, already on his phone, presumably looking at marble samples. "But it's an investment in the family legacy." Family legacy. I almost laughed. They had no idea that their family legacy existed solely because of me. The truth was buried in paperwork they'd never bothered to read. When I'd refinanced the house in 2010, the mortgage broker had been crystal clear. "This needs to be in your name only. Miss Blake, your mother's credit is shot, and without sole ownership, no bank will touch this." Mother had waved it away. "Details, darling, just handle it." So I handled it. My name on the deed, my name on the mortgage, my name on every single document that mattered. For 13 years, I'd paid everything $23,000 in annual property taxes, $15,000 in maintenance, $8,000 in utilities, another $10,000 in repairs and improvements. Over $500,000 maintaining their illusion. "The boathouse needs work, too," Patricia added, scrolling through her phone. "I was there last month with my book club." "Without asking," I said quietly. She looked up, startled. "Excuse me." "You were there without asking. You used the house without telling me." Patricia's face flushed. "It's the family house. Samantha, I don't need permission to use family property." "Funny thing about that," I said. But Mother cut me off. "Don't be petty. Samantha, it's unbecoming. Besides, you barely use the place. Last summer, you only came twice." Twice. Because both times I'd arrived to find the house occupied. Once by Grant's fraternity brothers, who'd left beer cans in the garden and vomit on the bathroom floor. Once by Patricia's meditation group, who'd rearranged all the furniture and burned incense that triggered my migraines. Both times. I'd spent my vacation cleaning up after them. "Remember 4th of July, Grant laughed. Sam showed up while we were in the middle of the party. The look on her face. He mimicked my shocked expression, and Patricia giggled. I remembered 40 people on my property, using my electricity, drinking liquor I'd paid for, swimming in the lake I maintained. Someone had brought fireworks professional grade, illegal in Michigan. They'd launched them from my dock while I sat in my car, watching liability lawsuits dance in the sky. The house needs a new dock too, Mother continued, oblivious to my silence. The old one's becoming dangerous. I nearly caught my heel last week. Last week. She'd been there last week, and I hadn't known. How did you get in? I asked. I have a key, obviously. She looked at me like I was stupid. We all do. We all do. I thought about the locksmith I'd called 2 years ago, confused about the number of keys in circulation. Ma'am, I've got records of 17 key copies for this property. That seems excessive. I'd told him it was fine, a big family. But 17 I knew of maybe 5. Grant's been talking about building a guest house, Patricia said. For when he brings clients up? It's good for business, Grant added. I've already got an architect drawing up plans. Nothing huge, maybe 3,000 square feet, 4 bedrooms, 3 baths. We could break ground in spring. They were planning construction on my property, planning to build on land I owned, with money they assumed I'd provide, for a business entertainment venue that would benefit only Grant. The audacity was breathtaking. Who's paying for this guest house? I asked. Grant looked at me like I'd asked who was paying for oxygen. It's a family investment. Sam, we all chip in for the family property. When have you ever chipped in? The table went quiet. Grant's face darkened. I contribute in other ways. Name one. I bring value to the property. My connections. My network. Your parties that leave me with 5,000 in cleanup bills. Mother slammed her hand on the table. The restaurant went silent for a moment before conversations nervously resumed. Enough, she hissed. This jealousy is disgusting. Samantha, just because you're incapable of enjoying life doesn't mean you should ruin it for everyone else. That house is our heritage, our history. You're just the name on some papers. Just the name on some papers. Just the one who'd saved it from foreclosure. Just the one who'd paid over $500,000 to maintain it. Just the one who'd sacrificed my own dreams of home ownership to preserve theirs. You're right, I said, standing up. I'm just the name on the papers. I pulled on my coat, my movements calm and deliberate. They watched me, confused by my lack of emotion. Where are you going? Mother demanded. Home, I said, to my sad little apartment. As I walked away, I heard Grant mutter, "Drama queen," and Patricia's responding laughter. But Mother stayed silent, and I wondered if some primal instinct warned her that something had shifted. Outside, the Chicago wind cut through my coat like judgment. I stood on the sidewalk, looking back at the warm glow of the restaurant, at my family continuing their meal without me. They'd already forgotten I'd left. In my pocket, my phone buzzed. A text from my property manager. Final repairs from last month's damage complete. Total $3,847. Should I send the invoice, last month's damage, from people I'd never met, using a key I'd never given them, at a property they believed they owned? I typed back, send it, and schedule a locksmith for next week. Every lock, every door. The family property was about to become a lot less familiar. The valet brought my car around a 7-year-old Honda Accord that Grant called aggressively middle class, and I sat in the driver's seat without starting the engine. Through the restaurant window, I could see them perfectly framed like a painting, family portrait and casual cruelty. Grant was showing Mother something on his phone, probably the architect's sketches for his guest house. His Armani suit caught the light as he gestured expansively. Planning improvements to property he didn't own with money he didn't have. The watch on his wrist, a Rolex he'd bought after his big promotion last year, probably cost more than I'd saved in the past 5 years. The promotion, I'd later learned from LinkedIn, was a lateral move at best. Patricia had ordered another bottle of wine, the $90 Barolo she preferred. She was laughing at something, her hand touching Mother's arm in that conspiratorial way they had, like two people sharing a private joke at someone else's expense. That someone was always me, but it was Mother who held my attention. She sat straight-backed, regal, completely unaffected by my departure. She was already on to the next topic, probably planning the spring gala she'd inevitably ask me to help fund. Her expression was what stopped me cold relief. She was relieved I'd left. My phone buzzed. Grant had texted, "Forgot to mention I need the house Jan 1520, client thing. Make sure someone cleans before..." Not asking. Telling. Not offering to pay for cleaning. Assuming. I stared at the text, waiting for the familiar burn of resentment, the ache of being used. Instead, I felt nothing. Not numbness that would imply the absence of something. This was the presence of something new. Clarity, maybe, or freedom. Another text, this time from Patricia. "Your dramatics ruined dessert. M is upset. M for Mother." They had a whole shorthand I wasn't part of. Then Mother herself. The level of disrespect tonight was appalling. "We need to discuss your attitude and your place in this family. Call me tomorrow. Your place in this family." The words should have stung. 6 months ago, they would have sent me spiraling, desperately calling to apologize, begging for forgiveness I hadn't needed to ask for. 3 months ago, I would have spent the drive home crafting the perfect response, something that might finally make her see me as worthy. But sitting in that cold car, watching my breath fog the windshield, I realized something they'd already told me my place. I was the wallet, the safety net, the name on the papers, the one who handled things, the one who paid, the one who could be counted on to absorb their disappointments and foot their bills. "Looks like a thrift store reject," Grant had said about my dress, but he hadn't noticed it was the same dress I'd worn to last year's Christmas dinner and the year before. Because while I was buying his drinks and funding his lifestyle, I couldn't afford new clothes. My wardrobe was frozen in 2019, before the pandemic, before the inflation, before their demands escalated from excessive to crushing. I pulled up my banking app, checking $342, savings $0, credit available $438 across 3 maxed cards. This was what 12 years of being the good daughter had earned me. I made $98,000 a year good money by any standard, and I lived like someone making 30. Meanwhile, Grant drove a leased BMW he couldn't afford, lived in a Gold Coast apartment subsidized by family funds, my funds, and spent weekends at the lake house he treated like a personal resort. Patricia lived mortgage-free in a condo Mother had bought with money that mysteriously appeared during my highest bonus year. And Mother herself lived like the heiress she'd never actually been, floating on the myth of old money that had run out 2 generations ago. I was their life support system, and they treated me like I was broken. A couple walked past my car, arms linked, laughing at something on the woman's phone. They looked happy, normal, like people who chose to spend time together because they wanted to, not because blood obligated them to perform a charade of family. The breaking point. That's what this was supposed to be. The moment where the hero of the story collapses, cries, wonders how it all went wrong. But I didn't feel broken. I felt awake, like I'd been sleepwalking through a nightmare and finally opened my eyes. They wanted me to know my place. Fine. I knew it now. I was the foundation they'd built their lives on, the load-bearing wall they'd taken for granted. And load-bearing walls, when removed, bring the whole house down. I started the car and pulled into traffic. The city lights blurred past, and I found myself laughing a sound that surprised me with its genuine mirth. They had no idea what they'd just done. In their casual cruelty, their dismissive certainty that I'd always be there to use, they'd freed me from the last chain holding me to them hope. Hope that they'd change. Hope that they'd see me. Hope that one day, the ledger would balance and they'd love me the way I desperately tried to love them. Tomorrow. Mother expected a call. An apology. A reset to our toxic normal. Tomorrow. She'd learn what happens when you tell someone their place one too many times. They might just believe you. I drove straight through to Milwaukee, arriving at my apartment at 11:47 p.m. The two-bedroom unit in a converted brewery wasn't sad or little, it was mine, paid for with money they couldn't touch. I poured myself a glass of wine, $8 Trader Joe's Red, not $90 Barolo, and opened my laptop. The email to Marcus Ellery was already half composed in my head. Marcus had handled the lake house refinancing 13 years ago, back when he was a junior associate desperate for clients. Now he was a senior partner at Ellery, Huang and Associates, one of the best property lawyers in the Midwest. We'd stayed in touch. He sent Christmas cards with photos of his growing family. Marcus, I need to discuss liquidating the Michigan property. Please call at your earliest convenience. S. Send. Next. I logged into my online banking. 3 checking accounts, all with shared users. Mother was listed on my main account, a relic from college, when she'd insisted it was for emergencies. Grant had access to my business expense account, supposedly for when he helped with my consulting work. He'd never helped once. Patricia was authorized on my credit cards as an additional user, one by one. I removed them. Click. Evelyn Blake has been removed from checking account ending in 4387. Click. Grant Blake no longer has access to business account ending in 9021. Click. Patricia Morrison's card privileges have been revoked. Each click felt like cutting a rope that had been slowly strangling me. The automated payments were next. Mother's cell phone canceled. Grant's gym membership terminated. Patricia's wine club subscription ended. The family Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max, Disney Plus, all gone. The newspaper subscriptions Mother insisted on for staying informed but never read deleted. I pulled up the spreadsheet I'd hidden in a folder labeled Tax Backups 2019. The real accounting of what they owed me. Not the emotional debt that was incalculable, but the actual money. With interest. It came to $423,000. My phone started buzzing at 12:18. Grant. Got an alert about the Netflix, what's wrong with it? I didn't respond. 12:22 a.m. Patricia. My card was declined at the wine bar. This is humiliating, fix this now. 12:31 a.m. Mother. Samantha. What have you done? What had I done? I'd started taking my life back. One canceled payment at a time. I opened a new browser tab and logged into the lake house utility accounts. Electric, gas, water, internet, cable, security system, all in my name. All on auto pay from my accounts. I scheduled them all for termination on January 1st. Let Grant explain to his clients why there was no heat in January. Let Patricia's book club meet by candlelight. The property tax account showed the next payment due in February, $5,800. I removed the auto pay. The HOA fees for the private road maintenance canceled. The landscape service that kept the grounds pristine terminated effective immediately. My phone rang. Mother. I let it go to voicemail. Another call. Grant. Ignored. Patricia tried 3 times in a row. At 12:55 a.m., the texts started getting nasty. Grant. This is pathetic, even for you, throwing a tantrum like a child. Shh, Patricia. You've embarrassed me in front of my friends. This is unforgivable. Mother. I'm calling Dr. DeBrennan in the morning. This behavior suggests a mental break. Dr. Brennan, the family therapist who'd spent 10 sessions telling me I needed to be more understanding of my family's different communication styles. The one who'd suggested I was too sensitive when I'd broken down crying about the financial pressure. The one Mother had insisted I see, and naturally, that I pay for. I closed my laptop and walked to my bedroom. On the dresser sat a photo from last Christmas, all of us at the lake house. Me standing slightly apart, everyone else clustered together. I'd paid for the photographer. I'd organized the session. I'd framed and distributed the copies. And still, I looked like a guest at someone else's family gathering. I turned the photo face down. 2:13 a.m. My phone buzzed with a notification from Capital One. Your automatic payment of $3,847 to Great Lakes Property Management has been processed. The last payment they'd ever see from me. I pulled up Marcus's contact and typed another email. Also need to discuss recovery of funds. Have documentation of $400K plus in unreimbursed expenses related to property. Can we explore legal options? This wasn't about revenge. Not really. This was about physics. They'd pressed down on me for so long. They'd forgotten that pressure builds. They'd taken and taken, never considering that the well might run dry. They'd assumed my spine was made of rubber, that it would bend forever without breaking. They were about to learn that even rubber, stretched too far, snaps back. My phone lit up with another call from Mother. This time, I answered. Finally, she spat. What is the meaning of my place in this family? I said calmly. You were right. I need to know it. I don't understand what. I'm done paying for you. All of you. Every subscription, every bill, every expense. Done. Silence. Then, you can't be serious. The lake house utilities shut off January 1st. The locks are being changed next week. If Grant wants it for his clients, he can call Marcus Ellery about a rental agreement. That's our family home. No, Mother, it's my property. Has been for 13 years. Just the name on the papers. Remember. I hung up and turned off my phone. Outside, snow began to fall, covering Milwaukee in a clean white blanket. A fresh start. A blank slate. For the first time in 12 years, I slept through the night. I kept my phone off for 3 days. When I finally powered it on the morning of December 27th, the cascade of notifications sounded like a slot machine hitting jackpot. 47 missed calls, 113 text messages, 32 voicemails, the digital equivalent of a toddler's meltdown. I made coffee, good coffee, from the expensive beans I'd stopped buying months ago to afford Mother's birthday dinner, and settled in to read the progression of their panic. December 24th, 6:15 a.m. Grant, very mature. Sam, my card got declined at Starbucks. Fix this. 8:30 a.m. Patricia. The wine club called. They said my membership was canceled. This is about last night. Isn't it so petty? 9:43 a.m. Mother Samantha. The power company called about the lake house. There must be some mistake. The messages evolved as reality set in. 12 noon. Grant. I'm at the gas station. My card isn't working. This isn't funny anymore. 2:17 p.m. Patricia. My friends are asking questions. You're embarrassing the entire family. 4:36 p.m. Mother. The cable company says you canceled service. The family is coming for New Year's. What am I supposed to tell them? By Christmas Day, the tone had shifted from indignant to furious. Grant. You vindictive bitch. I had to borrow money from my assistant. My assistant. Patricia. I've never been so humiliated. The restaurant called about the rehearsal dinner I booked. They want a new card on file. Mother attempted manipulation. Your grandmother would be ashamed of how you're treating family. Grandmother. The woman who'd left me her pearl necklace, the only thing of value she'd owned, which Mother had borrowed 8 years ago and never returned. I'd seen it on Patricia last Easter. December 26th brought desperation. Grant. 10:05 a.m. Okay, you've made your point. I'll pay you back for Thanksgiving. Just turn my card back on. Thanksgiving. When he'd brought 12 people to the lake house, consumed $800 in food and liquor I'd stocked, and left me with a broken window from his friend's drunken football toss. That Thanksgiving. Patricia. 11:20 a.m. This is affecting my children. Is that what you want to hurt your niece and nephew? The children she'd never let me babysit because I was too career-focused to understand kids. The children who called me Aunt Sam maybe twice a year. When their mother reminded them I existed, Mother went for the jugular at 3:48 p. I know you're reading these. Your selfishness is destroying this family. Your father would be disgusted. My father, who died when I was 16, leaving behind a life insurance policy that Mother had burned through in 2 years on grief management trips to Europe. My college fund had evaporated into her healing process. I scrolled through the voicemails without listening, but one text stopped me cold. Mother, December 26th, 11:58 p.m. The bank called about the mortgage. They said I'm not on the account. Explain yourself immediately. So she'd tried to access the lake house accounts, probably planning to take out a home equity loan for her kitchen renovation. The thought of what might have happened if she'd been on those accounts made my stomach turn. My laptop dinged with an email from Marcus. Sam, got your messages. Interesting situation. The property is indeed solely in your name clean title. No liens, no co-owners. Regarding the financial recovery, if you have documentation, we have several options. Wisconsin recognizes promissory estoppel and unjust enrichment claims. The amounts you're describing could also constitute elder financial abuse in reverse rare, but not unprecedented. Can you meet January 2nd? And Sam, turn the utilities back on until we sort this out. Frozen pipes will tank your property value. M. Frozen pipes. Practical Marcus. Always thinking about asset protection. But he had a point. I logged into the utility companies and set the termination date to January 31st instead. 1 month for them to figure out their lives. My phone rang. An unknown number with a Chicago area code. I answered. Miss Blake, this is James from Restoration Hardware. I'm calling about an order placed on your account. A $60,000 kitchen renovation package. $60,000. She'd tried to order her Italian marble dream kitchen on my store credit. Cancel it, I said. There's a 15% cancellation fee. Bill it to Evelyn Blake. She placed the order. But the account is in your. Then she committed credit fraud. Would you like me to file a police report? A pause. We'll handle it internally. Miss Blake, have a good day. I hung up and laughed, really laughed. The audacity was almost admirable. While I was radio silent, Mother had tried to renovate the kitchen she didn't own, in a house she couldn't access, with money that wasn't hers. Another text came through, this time from a cousin in Seattle. Your mom called crying. She says you've lost your mind and stolen the family house. What's going on? The narrative was already being spun. I was the villain who'd stolen their birthright, not the victim who'd paid for it in blood, sweat, and credit card debt. By New Year's, the entire extended family would believe I'd had a mental breakdown and hijacked the family legacy. Let them. Grant tried a new approach at 4:12 p.m. Sam, I'm sorry about dinner. We were jerks. Can we talk? We were jerks. Not, I was a jerk. Not, I'm sorry for 12 years of treating you like an ATM. We were jerks. Like it was a collective oops, a minor faux pas, a simple misunderstanding that could be smoothed over with a half-hearted apology. I typed back, no. Then I blocked his number. Patricia went full guilt mode. I'm at urgent care with Timothy. Asthma attack. Insurance won't cover it because you canceled the supplemental policy. How could you do this to a child? The supplemental policy I'd been paying for 3 years because Patricia's essential oils business didn't provide health insurance. Timothy's asthma that mysteriously flared whenever Patricia needed leverage. I blocked her too. Mother's final message of the day came at 11:47 p.m. You have 1 week to fix this, or I'm calling my lawyer. Her lawyer, who she couldn't afford, for a case she couldn't win, about a property she didn't own. I typed back, call them, mine's better. Then I blocked her number and went to bed. For the first time in my adult life, I didn't check my bank balance before falling asleep, didn't calculate how I'd cover everyone's expenses, didn't worry about the next crisis I'd have to fund. The silence was beautiful. The drive to Michigan took 4 hours through heavy snow. I'd left Milwaukee at 5 a.m. on December 29th, wanting to arrive before the world woke up. The familiar route unwound before me, I-94 to I-196 exit 34, then 20 miles of increasingly narrow roads until the trees opened up to reveal the lake. The house stood magnificent against the winter landscape, smoke still rising from the chimney. Someone was there. Of course someone was there. I pulled into the driveway behind Grant's BMW and Patricia's Range Rover. They'd come to stake their claim. I didn't go to the front door. Instead, I walked around to my father's workshop, a converted boathouse he'd used for woodworking. The spare key was still hidden where he'd left it, inside a fake rock that fooled no one. The workshop smelled like sawdust and memory. Everything was exactly as he'd left it. His tools hung on pegboard, each outline traced in Sharpie so he'd know where to return them. His last project, a jewelry box he'd been making for my 17th birthday, sat unfinished on the workbench, covered in 13 years of dust. I found what I was looking for in the filing cabinet. He'd installed a manila folder labeled House Important in his careful handwriting. Inside were the original blueprints, the deed from 1928, photos from every decade of family gatherings, and at the bottom, a letter in his handwriting. For Sammy, they'll try to take this from you. Don't let them. Dad. He'd known. Somehow, he'd known. I photographed everything with my phone, then moved through the workshop with purpose. From the walls, I took down the family photos, not the formal ones Mother had commissioned, but the candids Dad had taken. Me at 6, covered in finger paint. Grant before he learned to sneer, gap-toothed and grinning. Even Mother, young and laughing, before bitterness became her default setting. These weren't their memories to keep. I could hear voices from the main house now, arguing. A window slammed. Grant's voice carried across the snow. She has to be here somewhere. I moved to the main house, entering through the basement door that Mother never remembered existed. The basement was full of boxes, labeled in my grandmother's handwriting. Christmas decorations, summer clothes, Sam's things. Sam's things. I opened the box. Inside were my childhood treasures, things I'd thought were lost. My father's watch, the one Mother said was stolen. My grandmother's pearl necklace, the one currently around Patricia's neck. If Instagram was accurate. My coin collection. My first edition Nancy Drews. The savings bonds from my baptism that had mysteriously vanished when I turned 18. They hadn't just taken my money. They'd taken my history. I loaded the box into my car, then climbed the basement stairs to the main floor. I could hear them in the great room, their voices a familiar symphony of complaint. Legal precedent for squatters' rights, Grant was saying. Emotional distress lawsuit. Patricia added, Find a way to break the paperwork, Mother commanded. I stood in the doorway, watching them. They hadn't heard me come up. They were surrounded by boxes, clearly planning to move in, to possess through occupation what they couldn't take legally. The locks are being changed on Monday, I said. They whirled around. Mother recovered first, her face shifting into its court-ready expression. Samantha, finally, we need to discuss this madness. No discussion. You have 72 hours to remove your belongings. Grant stepped forward, trying to loom. You can't just, I will. I pulled out my phone and started recording. You're currently trespassing on private property. Would you like me to call the police now, or will you leave voluntarily? This is our family home, Patricia shrieked. No, it's my investment property. If you want to use it, Marcus Ellery has rental rates. $3,500 a week in season, $2,500 off season. Security deposit required. Mother's mask slipped. You would charge your own mother rent. You charged your own daughter interest. Remember the loan for your car that you paid back at 12%, except you never paid the principal. Just the interest. And only when I begged, she had the grace to look away. I walked through the room, noting what was mine and what was theirs. The furniture mostly mine, purchased over the years when they deemed the old stuff embarrassing. The art mine, bought to fill walls they found depressingly bare. Even the Christmas decorations currently adorning the tree mine, because Mother's aesthetic changed yearly and someone had to maintain continuity. I'm keeping the Waterford crystal, Mother announced, as if she had any say. The crystal Dad bought for your anniversary. The set that's been in the china cabinet for 20 years. The one I've been paying the insurance on? I laughed. Sure, Mother, take it. Consider it your severance package. Severance. From your position as family matriarch. You're fired. Grant grabbed my arm. You've lost your mind. I looked at his hand on my arm, then at his face. Something in my expression made him let go and step back. No, Grant, I've found my spine. There's a difference. I walked to the fireplace mantel, where a photo of all of us from last Christmas held pride of place. The one where I stood apart, looking like a stranger who'd wandered into frame. I took it down, removed it from its silver frame, also mine. I'd bought it and handed the empty frame to Mother. Here, you can fill this with the family you have left. Then I tore the photo in half, separating myself from the group, and pocketed my half. Dramatic bitch, Patricia muttered. Accurate description. I agreed. The bitch part, anyway. The dramatic part is what comes next if you're not gone by January 1st. I headed for the door, then turned back. Oh, and Grant, your client's coming on the 15th. You might want to call them, unless they enjoy winter camping, because there won't be heat, electricity, or water. You turned off the utilities. His face went pale. No, you did. The moment you decided I was just the name on the papers. Names on papers don't pay bills. I left them standing there, surrounded by boxes they'd have to repack, in a house they'd never really owned, holding on to things that no longer mattered. In my car, I pulled out the letter from my father one more time. Don't let them, he'd written. I won't. Dad, I said to the empty air, not anymore. The house disappeared in my rearview mirror as snow began to fall again. Covering my tracks like nature itself was erasing my presence from their lives. Perfect. Christmas Day. 1 year later. 7:30 p.m. I stood in my new condo purchased 6 months ago with the money from the lake house sale watching snow fall over Milwaukee's 3rd Ward. The Christmas tree I'd decorated myself twinkled in the corner, covered in new ornaments that held no painful memories. On the mantel, a single photo Dad and me at my college graduation, both of us grinning like we'd won the lottery. My phone sat silent on the counter. They'd gotten new numbers after I'd blocked them, tried reaching out through cousins, aunts, even my dentist. But eventually, the messages stopped. The flying monkeys gave up. The extended family either believed their version or they didn't. I no longer cared. The doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. My new tradition was Chinese takeout and whatever movie made me laugh. But when I opened the door, 3 familiar figures stood in my hallway, looking like refugees from their former lives. Mother had aged 5 years in one. Her perfect platinum bob had grown out, showing gray roots. The designer coat was the same one from last year, slightly worn at the cuffs. Behind her, Grant looked deflated, his usual swagger replaced by something almost humble. Patricia clutched a gas station bouquet of carnations like a peace offering. How did you find me? Marcus Ellery, Mother said quietly. He took pity. Of course, Marcus, who'd helped me reclaim $400,000 through legal channels, who'd managed the lake house sale for $1.8 million, who'd asked repeatedly if I was sure I wanted to burn every bridge. You have 5 minutes, I said, not moving from the doorway. Mother took a breath. We came to say we're sorry. No, Grant interrupted, and for a moment I thought he was reverting to form. But then he continued. We came to say I'm sorry. Specifically, individually, I'm sorry, Sam, for all of it. The money, I asked, for treating you like you weren't family while taking everything family meant, he said. The money was just the symptom. Patricia stepped forward. I'm sorry, too. You held us all up, and we resented you for it. How sick is that? I looked at Mother, waiting. I'm sorry I made you feel like you had to buy our love, she said, her voice breaking. And I'm sorry that when you stopped trying, we had nothing left. They stood there in their diminished glory. These people who'd once towered over my life like titans. The sale of the lake house had been public $1.8 million, cash sale, to a tech executive from San Francisco. They knew I had money now, more than they'd ever have. "Is this about the money?" I asked. "No," Mother said firmly. "We're not here for money." "Then what, a chance?" Grant said. "To be the family we should have been." I laughed, not cruelly, just honestly. We were never a family. We were a financial arrangement where I paid for the privilege of being treated as less than— "We know," Patricia whispered. "God, Sam, we know." "Do you think this year has been easy, watching each other without you as a buffer? We're horrible people." "You were horrible to me," I corrected. "To each other. You were just fine." "No," Mother said. "We were horrible, period. You were just the only one who didn't fight back with equal cruelty. We destroyed the only good thing in our family. The only good thing." "You destroyed yourselves," I said. I just stopped enabling it. They stood in my doorway like carolers who'd forgotten their song. Snow melted on their shoulders. The gas station carnations drooped. "Merry Christmas," I finally said. "I hope you find what you're looking for, but you won't find it here." I started to close the door, but Mother's hand stopped it. "The house," she said. "The new owners, they sent us something." She pulled out her phone, showing me a photo. The lake house, lit up with Christmas lights, full of laughing children and adults. The new family, using it as it was meant to be used with joy, not entitlement. "They love it," she said. "Like we should have." "Like Dad did," I said. "Like you did," Grant added quietly. I looked at them one last time. 3 people who'd had everything and valued nothing until it was gone. They'd learned their lesson, maybe. But some educations come too late. "Goodbye," I said. And this time when I closed the door, they didn't try to stop me. I returned to my living room, to my tree, to my silence. On the coffee table sat a letter from Marcus, delivered yesterday. Inside, a photo of the new family at the lake house, and a note. "They wanted you to know it's loved." I'd lost a family that never really was, but I'd gained something more valuable, the knowledge that I was worth more than what I could pay for. That love isn't a transaction. That family isn't about blood, it's about how people treat you when they think no one's keeping score. My phone buzzed. A text from a colleague. "Still on for New Year's my treat this time, and I mean it. Real friendship, real relationships, real life." I poured myself a glass of wine, the good stuff now, because I was worth it, and raised it to the photo of Dad on the mantel. "I didn't let them," I said. Outside, 3 figures walked through the snow to a decade-old sedan, their fancy cars long gone. They didn't look back. Neither did I. Some fortunes can't be measured in dollars, some wealth can't be withdrawn from banks, and some Christmases. The best gift you can give yourself is the courage to cut off the people who cut you down. They thought they were cutting me off at that dinner last year. Instead, they'd cut me free. Thank you so much for listening to this story. Where are you tuning in from today? I'd love to hear from listeners around the world. Drop a comment below and let's connect. If this story resonated with you, please consider subscribing to the channel and sharing your own thoughts or experiences. Have you ever had to stand up to family members who took advantage of you? Let's discuss in the comments below.